So I'm going to jump in here. That other fault that I had was just something daft. It was just a loose connection at a line tap, because I've seen that before, so I sorted it. But I'm back at one of the panels. So this panel is for the first fault that you would have seen today. I was just going to switch it back on again, do a drive round and make sure everything's lit. If there's any even single darks here, I was even going to just repair them, just so that the full area is going to be lit, barring that small section that I've been told to wait for the go ahead to sort of do anything else with it. But I'll pause it here a wee second, or you can pause it here and tell me if you notice anything glaringly obvious. Like the time clock thing that's standard, but anything in there, leave it in the comments. But aye, so took me a wee second, but look, so they've used the earth cable, or the CPC from this armour as a live there, so they've basically just made this feed 2 columns. So I'm going to try and even trace out where that goes as well, because that's just, how poor is that, instead of running in a 4-core. But again, nothing really surprises me in here anymore. So I want to keep this channel PG, limit the swearing as much as possible, but do you ever get these type of situations where you just wish you didn't see something, wish you didn't want to look into something? This is one of these moments. Fuck me, man, look at the state of that. So what I think has happened here is that armour has been joined onto this original armour here with the red, yellow, blue, and what they've done a lot of the time is just use one or more phases, generally like 2 phases, so they would sort of split it opposite side of the street or whatever between the red and the yellow phase. But I am going to now need to look into that, because it does look as if there's actually another fault here, unless it's just single darks, but there's quite a lot dark here, so I'm going to need to do a wee bit of digging. So sure enough, got one of the probes in there with a neutral, and 230 volts just left on this one. So this red phase must be down to wherever it goes, so I'm going to try and find where that goes. I thought I would just connect this in to this connector block just to see if it did in fact blow that breaker, and sure enough it did, just for more curiosity more than anything. So I think there's a column just there. I'm assuming it goes there because the one sort of straight ahead of me there lights, but the one to the right of that doesn't, so I'm assuming the red phase goes on to that right hand side. So I'm going to just try and split this as best I can, but it's an absolute lottery when it's the wiring's this old and this crap. So another thing that I tend to do when I'm fault finding on the street lighting, when it's undergrounds and it's an area that I've not worked in and it's as bad as it is here, thought I might as well just putting everything on here, and then that will at least give me a step for a hint when I go to columns. If things are live, then obviously it's nothing for me to sort of investigate there, but obviously it's the dead columns, and it just helps me sort of trace out roughly what way the cables will go if I can see a route that would make sense. The thing with doing fault finding on this type of stuff is it's been bodged so badly over the last 30 years or whatever that it's so difficult. Street lighting isn't difficult, but when it's bodged this badly, that's what makes it difficult. So here's an example of the difficulty with the street lighting when it comes to fault finding, like I just mentioned there with the amount of bodgery that goes on. So the cable over there that's disconnected is a 4-core armour, red, yellow, blue and a black for my neutral, or sometimes we use the blue, just depends. They just fucking make it up in here. But my only cables in here are a 2.5 armour, or is that a 10mm 2-core armour. So this is the only one that makes sense for it to be, because that one's lit and it's the closest one to it. And obviously if the cable's down, then there's no way of confirming that it is definitely that cable, but I'll do a wee bit more digging and see if I can come up with anything. So this is just getting worse and worse. As you can see there, I'm actually getting a voltage on this, but no return on the neutral. And again, when stuff's all crossed over here, it's just difficult to tell which one's which, so I need to go and switch it off, and I can disconnect these two and see what one I'm getting the voltage on. So while I was digging about here as well, I just thought I would check this black core that was just basically sitting up the column. Exposed end, and just sitting there with 24 volts on it. And then just shitty like tape connections hanging like this with 400 volts sitting there. What I'm going to do just now is obviously turn that all off and basically stick this in as needing urgently looked at. One, to tidy all this stuff up and actually sort of terminate it all properly so that there's no ends hanging loose, and then obviously to properly dig into where this fault is, because it's just an absolute minefield, and I think another pair of hands would be beneficial here, because you could just be disconnecting stuff from somebody at the panel, turning it off and on, because you're needing to do that every time, and it's just you're making no progress with it here. This is a continuation of the second section fault that I've been out dealing with today, and you'll probably remember from one of the previous clips that there was an issue with the red phase. Probably struggle to do this on camera, but you're getting a voltage but no return on the red phase. The yellow phase on this one's okay. So basically what I've ended up doing is just, or I'm going to end up doing, is just swapping all these fittings over to the yellow phase in the meantime, until this can get sorted. I'll also take a note of all the ones that I've swapped over. Once it gets sorted, then they'll get reinstated back onto the phase that they were originally on. So this one's R18. You can see that one there's dark and then the one beyond it's lit. One in there's dark, so generally every like second fitting that I'll probably need to do. I'll just go around and do them just now. I'm at this one here, which is R24, and exact same issue, red phase, and I'm only getting I'm getting a voltage but no return. But you can see there, neutrals popped out. Oh, there you go. I've just popped out with this igniter. So I'm going to go and switch off this box, get the van round here, because I've got another one to do down the bottom there, and I'll do a wee survey as well and just see if there's any other ones to look at. I think there's one round that corner as well. So you'll see here, this is round the back of the main wee bit there, my van's over there. Got all these ones lit. Don't know about this one, I've still to check this one out. Come back to that in a minute. The one dead ahead of me there, I think I've shown a clip of that. I'm getting 12 volts at that one. And then I think there's a small armour that goes across to that wee ASD 70 watt. So that's possibly the only ones that's going to be dark here. Obviously that one was always working, so was that. Got that one working. You can see that the 90 watt, sorry, there. Got that one working. The one down the very bottom is, the supply is now fine, but it just needs a new fitting. And I'm just set up at this one. I just want to make sure my supply's okay here, or I'm not sure if it's even got a photo cell in it. Right, so that one there is photo cell controlled. I've been in there, obviously checked. I've swapped over the yellow phase, made sure it's all working, that's fine. Couldn't get that one on film because there's a wee kid just round there that was sort of talking about his. I obviously don't want to get them on camera, that's not right. Just jumping in with a wee update here. So there's, in total, there is now 5 not lit. 2 of which are, or 2 of which the supply has now been sorted to them, and it's just dark lamps. Depending on my time today, I'll try and sort one of them's a 90 watt, the other one's a 2-person and ladder required, so obviously I'll not be able to touch that today. But the remaining 3 are this one here, and then round to the right there's a wee post op to get looked at as well. So making a wee bit of progress here. I thought there was a possibility, where my van is the box, I thought there was a possibility that it came here first and then went down there and along to the right, but that's not the case. It comes from the circuits go along this way, up to there, end of line, or was end of line, drops down to that Haldo unit, and then there's 3 cables in there which go along and up that way. Sorry, two of the cables go that way, and then one of them actually goes along there. There, it's been disconnected. I've measured it, or I've done an IR test on it, and it's down, so I can't confirm exactly that it is that cable, but it's the exact same size of cable, colours, etc, so it's likely going to be that. So that's one of them crossed off why it's not lit. Now it's just going to try and find out what the other 2 are doing. As mentioned, I'm at my last 2 here, so there's R3 and then that's R20 something, can't really tell, just the numbers are faded. What I'm going to do is, and I'll confirm it obviously, but let's see if I can do it that way actually. So I'm getting a voltage there and no return on it. As you can see there, that's a 2-wire 2.5 armour, and there's another one in there, plus there's a 2-wire 10 or 16mm armour. So the likelihood obviously is that the smaller cable's going between this, and then the bigger one is between that and the R27 next to my section box. So what I'm going to do is isolate the circuit. What I'll do is I'll disconnect the cables at this pole, that pole, and then it's obviously disconnected up at the section box, and then I'll IR test between them, try and prove what goes where, and then obviously from doing that as well I'll hopefully find out what one's down. So got my wee meter set up, cable disconnected, that side it's end of line there anyway, onto live and neutral, 250 volts. You can see there that's fine and settled on that. Live to earth. That's fine, I'm happy with that. And then earth to neutral. Again, that's fine. What I'm going to do is just go and touch the ends together. What I'm going to do is touch the live and neutral ends together over that side, and then hopefully this will come up with a dead short, and then obviously that will show us that this is definitely that cable. So just like that, just obviously quite roughly touching it now. Take a wee walk back here, and this is only a short distance away, so I'm happy to sort of leave it like that and do my testing just in my line of sight. Right, back onto 250 live and neutral, and there you go, dead short. And then tell you what, I'll leave my phone there, and I'll take the off and here. Right, so you'll hear that the buzzers went off and then it's cleared itself again. So I'm happy that that cable and that cable's fine, and then it's just a case of it's going to be this red phase or this armour here that's going over to there that's going to be down, and I'll see what I can show with that. So I'll put this back together that end, and then I can disconnect it this side and then the side up there. Right, as what always seems to happen when I'm trying to record and doing this type of work, I'm being asked to go and deal with a 2-hour response for a fitting hanging, so I'm going to need to go there quickly. I've quickly checked this cable and it is down across live to neutral, so it's just going to bang straight away. So for the meantime, this column and that column are going to need to remain dark, as well as the one that's round there that's got a cable down at it. So potentially 2 tracks to put in to get this one back to functioning properly. Before I shoot off though, I'd like to it definitely ticks all the boxes for doing the street lighting stuff anyway. Obviously it's not got half the stuff a proper MFT's got or anything like that, no RCD tests or anything like that, but I have actually went out and bought a second-hand Mega for doing my domestic stuff, but I'm still in the market for an all singing, all dancing one, and this is going to be a wee shameless request that if there's any companies out there that want to send me out an MFT, then by all means go for it. I'd happily trial it on the channel and put it through its paces and see what it can do on both the domestic and the street lighting. Right, last but not least, what I typically always do when I come to these section faults is just basically do a wee load test on each of the circuits, but obviously the problem circuit. I didn't quite anticipate that my fix today was going to go the way it's went, but I'd done a check earlier on, and I think I was getting about 5 or 6 amps I was pulling. I think these are 20 amp fuses in these, so I've obviously got plenty of room to play with, but I just want to confirm that by moving stuff over to this phase that I've not over and above, or I'm anywhere sort of near the limit on these fuses. So I'll just get a wee check just now. So I just 9 amp, even sort of 9.5 amp roughly. It was sort of pulling there, and it will obviously continue to fluctuate a little bit, but it's sort of settling about there. So that's fine. I'm happy with that. All this stuff here I'll be sticking back into the client with regards to the way that green and yellow CPC has been used as a live conductor. The state, some of the other stuff that I've found, I'll stick all that back in, we'll see what gets done. And obviously there's a track needed there, a track needed between this column and that one, and then obviously reinstating back the other fittings back to the yellow phase if that's the route they want to go down with it.